This video covers a range of miscellaneous topics related to the sponsorship module. These are all topics that don't fit neatly into any particular grouping. Let's start with the sponsored names data upload. It does double duty. It allows you to upload new sponsored name records and update existing records. This is the only update or Excel upload process that will allow you to update existing records in Denari. All of the others only allow for uploading new records. When you click the sponsorship button and then click on sponsored names data upload, each browser may act a little differently. Some versions of Internet Explorer will display the instructions spreadsheet on the page. Some Firefox versions will give you an opportunity to download the instructions and display it in Excel. Chrome will try to download the page. Safari and others have their own methods as well. Depending on when you view this video, the browsers may have changed and will handle this page differently. You will be creating an Excel spreadsheet, and the first thing to note is that the process doesn't work with the new Excel file format that produces a file with the XLSX extension. It must have the older XLS extension. So if you're using a newer version of Excel, you can simply choose to save your file in an older format. Let's look at the instructions. The first column in the sample are the field names. They are things like SP code, name type, name, etc. This is a little confusing in that they are shown in a column because when you create your spreadsheet, the field names will go across the top in the first row. Each column will be data that you enter for the sponsored names. I've created my own sample here to show you how yours might look. Let's go back to the instructions. Note that the only required field is the SP code field. All the others are optional. If you're uploading new sponsored name records, the code you put in this column will be what populates the code field in the sponsored name record when it's created by Denari. So it must be unique. You can't have two sponsored names with the same code. If you're updating existing records, it is this field that Denari will use to identify those records. For example, let's say you have a sponsored name record with the code ABC4 and you want to add the country and region information to that record. Of course, the easiest way to change one record is to just go to that record and change it, but we'll assume that you're updating a bunch of records at once, but we'll focus on just this one. Let me give you the sample again. And you see that the first column will have the SP code field, and that goes in cell A1. The column next to it will have the country field, and then the third column will have region. Both fields are ones that can be used in the update process. Not all of the fields on the sponsored name page can be included in the process, however, only the ones on the instruction page. The second row will contain the information for each name record. So in our example, the first column will have ABC4. The second column will have the country code, and the third will have region code. Notice that I use the word code here. That means that you have already created the codes for country and region in the sponsorship code section found on the sponsorship tab. You may remember that each code record has a description and a code field. It is the code here that Denari will use during the update. It will not recognize the description. Now, once you have your spreadsheet ready to go, whether it be for an update of existing records or uploading new ones, you'll come to this update page. Click the Select an Excel Spreadsheet link at the top, which will allow you to browse and select your spreadsheet. Now you can hit the Update Sponsorship Data button. Once this is done, there's no going back. I would suggest that you create a spreadsheet with only a couple of names for your first try to be sure everything is working the way you expect. It's easier to delete 2 or 3 names than it is 500. A report will go to your inbox that will tell you what happened and your new or updated names will appear in your data almost immediately. There's some fields on this page that require a little bit of explanation, and they are the date fields. The first set of fields on the page that we see are month, day, and year. If you look in the description column here, you see that those fields relate to the birthday field. Denari will import the date in three pieces: the month, the day, and the year. So you'll have one column for each. Let's look at my sample again. And there are other date fields on down the page that are similar in nature. For example, a month, a day, a year refer to the annual letter date. P month, P day, and P year refer to the postcard date. The rest of the fields are fairly self-explanatory, but remember that the values you put into the cells for these fields need to be the code field from the codes that you have previously set up, not the description field. And Denari will not create new codes on the fly. You will have had to set up your codes already in sponsorship codes found on the sponsorship page. Our next topic is photo cards. Photo cards are a document that represents a sponsored name. It can contain your logo, company address, the sponsored name's photo, and information that can be found in some of the fields in the sponsored name records. Things like education, favorite subject, community, etc. I've created a little sample photo card here for you. It's not really great looking. Yours will look a lot better, but I wanted to give you just an idea of what you might expect. You can choose the fields that you want on this page as well. You're not stuck with these fields that you see here. And we can add notes field to this if you want to include a narrative. Typically, a photo card is something you give to a prospective sponsor or existing sponsors to update them on the status of their child. The first step in the process is to set up the template. Usually that's done by a Denari staff person, but could be done by one of your staff who have some HTML skills. We will work with you to design the card with the information you want to include. There are two ways to run photo cards: by sponsored name and by donor. Running them by sponsored name is the most common, so we'll start with that one. We'll click on the sponsorship button and then sponsored names, and we'll select a child. Now move to the queue for photo card just below the photo and check that box and click Save. Now to run the cards, we'll go to the sponsorship button and then print photo cards. And here you can just click the print photo cards button and you'll find the file in your inbox. Denari will print a photo card for each sponsored name record where the box is checked, and it will then uncheck that box. And by the way, there's a way to check a group of names using sponsored name segmenter using filters like community, age, grade, etc. And that will be covered in the video on sponsored name segmenter. The second way to run photo cards is by donor. We'll start by clicking on the Names button and then Name List Management. And I'll select a donor. Now click on Pledges. And if we had an open pledge here on this page, we could just click on it to open the pledge. I'll click Add New to create a new one. Now if we were really setting up this pledge, we would fill in all the general pledge type fields here with payment frequency, payment amount, fund and appeal, description, etc., etc. We're going to move down to the sponsorship section. Here we would select the sponsored name and then check the box that says photo card queue, and again hit save. Now you can run the process just as you did with the other method, and Denari will produce a photo card for this pledge. Denari does not uncheck the box in the pledge with this method, however. That gives you the ability to check the box for any donors who want photo cards for children they sponsor, and you can repeat the process when needed without having to recheck the boxes. So the first section, or the first process that we looked at, where we check the box in the sponsored name record, is generally used for prospective sponsors. It allows you to give them information about the child that they might want to sponsor. This method is generally used for people who are already sponsoring children and simply want an update on their children. There's one thing to consider regarding the use of Denari's photo cards. They are produced as an HTML page. That means that you will open the file in your browser and will need to print them from there. They are set up as an 8.5 by 11 page, but you can control the size of the margins by controlling the margins in your browser. But your success in printing photo cards will depend on your skill at printing from your browser. Now let's move on to the next topic, and that is dropping a sponsored name record. For that, let's go to the sponsorship button again, sponsored names, and I'll just select any name record here. I'll scroll down to the status field, and when we click the drop down here, we see that one of the options is dropped. Dropped means that the sponsored person has left the program and will never return. The way to assign that status to a name record is to hit the drop button in the quick actions sections here on the right. Dropping a record is similar to deleting it. If the drop person were ever to come back to the program, you will need to re-enter them as a new record. Classes or classifications are codes that work just like classifications for donor name records. They are used in the sponsored name segmenter as filters for a report. For example, suppose you want to get a list of all sponsored names who live in a specific community who have blue eyes. You can use the community field in the sponsored name segment, but there's no place to store the color of eyes. I don't know why you would necessarily want that, but let's just assume that you do. You could then create a classification called blue eyes and assign that to all of the sponsored names that are appropriate. So let's do that. We'll click on the sponsorship button, then sponsored names. We'll click the sponsorship button and then sponsorship name classifications. And I'll click add new to create a new one. We'll give it a code and then a description, and the description here would probably be blue eyes. And now we hit save. So now to assign that, let's go back to the sponsorship button, sponsored names, and select a name. Now we can click on the classes button in the quick actions section. We can find the blue eyes classification, which would be over here on the left. Select it, click the little arrow to move it over to the right as it is now, And now we're able to use this as a filter for our sponsored name segmenter to get that list of names of people from a particular community with blue eyes. And for more information on the sponsored name segmenter, you can review the video on that topic. Now let's go back to the sponsored name record. Rather than go back to the sponsorship tab and go through that process, we can click on the sponsored name. Now I know that the name looks a little strange here, but this would normally be the name of a sponsored name record or sponsored child. That will take us back to the main page. At the top of the page here in the Quick Actions section, we have the sponsorship button or sponsors button. If this name record has sponsors or pledges linked to this record, this button will show you who they are. It gives you a complete history of the sponsorship activity for this name. We also notice that we have a current sponsors field. If there were sponsors for this child, this would be a drop-down field. And the drop-down field also shows you the current sponsors and those with open pledges. Our next topic is the sponsored name search screen. We'll go back to the sponsorship button and click on sponsored names again. By default, Denari only shows those names that are available on this page based on the system status field in the name record. If you'd like to see all names, both available and sponsored, uncheck the Only Available Names checkbox. The search screen works like all the other search screens or fields in Denari in that you can use the basic search by typing in the search criteria in that field, or clicking on the advanced link here to use the 4 fields to search for specific names. You can use one or all 4 to create a more narrow scope of results. Let's move on to child grade order promotion. Denari gives you the ability to update the grade level for your sponsored names. To use this feature, you will first need to set up your grade codes. And for that, again, we go to the sponsorship button and then click on sponsorship codes. I'll click add new to create a new one. And in the code group field, we choose grade. We'll give it a description and a code. The description will be whatever the grade is. And since many countries don't use grade 1, 2, 3, and 4 the way we do in the United States, you'll fill in whatever the description of those grades are. The rank order field will determine the sequence of grades during the grade promotion process. A rank 1 will update to rank 2 to rank 3, etc. So in other words, rank 1 would sort of be like first grade, rank 2 would kind of be like second grade, and so forth. And during the promotion process, it will move everything up 1 rank or 1 grade. When you're ready to update grades, we'll go to the sponsorship button and then child grade order promotion. You have the ability here to change the order if you want by changing the numbers and clicking Save Grade Order. When you're ready, click the Promote Children button and all the children will be moved up that 1 grade. Note that the text on the page tells you that you can remove a grade from the process by giving it an order of less than 0. There are a few reports available that I'd like to point out. They are all found by clicking on the Reports button on the left and then clicking on Sponsorship. We won't run them now, but it's good that you know that they're here, and you can check them out when you have some time. First is the Change Child report. This report does pretty much what you'd expect from the title. It will show you all of the changes that have been made to the sponsored name records in a date range. So when you run the report, you simply enter a date range and the report will show you that list of names and anything that has been changed there. The sponsorship count report is just that. It will give you a list of your sponsored names showing the number of sponsors each name has. You can filter this by the child or sponsorship code and the community, or you can just do this for all of your open pledges. The sponsorship duplicate report just finds the duplicates if there are any. I'm not going to click that here because when you do, it runs immediately and shows you the results in the screen, and there are no duplicates here in the training company. The sponsorship stats detail and summary are similar reports. The detail report breaks down your sponsored names by system status and shows you each child's name in that group. For example, you'll see a status of A for available and a list of the children below. You'll see S for sponsored and a list of those children. The summary report is similar, except that it doesn't show each child's name. It just tells you how many available names there are or how many sponsored names there are. It summarizes all of those. You have probably noticed I skipped over the child communication related reports. They are part of a sponsorship feature called Child Communication, and they'll be covered in a separate video. While you can get some information about your sponsored names from these reports, the vast majority of your information will come from either Pledge Segmenter or Sponsored Name Segmenter. Both are covered in a separate video. This concludes this video. If you have any questions, please contact tech support through the help button at the top of the page.